What if someone arrived at an airport with a passport from a country that doesn't exist? What if that document looked completely real? Stamps, signatures, even holograms. Yet no nation by that name had ever appeared on any map. In October 2025, a mysterious woman appeared at JFK International Airport with papers from the Republic of Torenza. Within hours, both she and her country vanished. Today, we uncover one of the strangest modern mysteries, a story that blurs the line between myth, technology, and reality itself. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Talking History. After that, leave a comment and tell us what other impossible stories you'd like us to investigate next. All right, let's step into the unknown. What you're about to see almost never made it to the public. It was one of those clips that vanish minutes after going viral, too strange to believe, too detailed to dismiss. In the autumn of 2025, a short video surfaced on TikTok. A woman, calm and composed, stands before an immigration officer at New York's JFK International Airport. She hands over her passport. He flips it open, expecting routine stamps, until his face changes. For a second, confusion replaces habit. Then, suspicion. The camera zooms in on the cover of the passport. It's blue, not the blue of the United States or the United Kingdom, but a softer tone, almost iridescent. Across it, embossed in gold letters, are the words, Republic of Torenza. The officer asks, "Where did you say you're from?" She answers simply, "Torenza." Her accent is hard to place, European, but not quite. Calm, certain, as if she's said this 1,000 times before. Seconds later, the video cuts abruptly. No context, no ending. Just a blur of motion and a single freeze frame. The officer's hand holding a passport from a country that doesn't exist. Within minutes, the post explodes. And Torenza climbs to the top of trending lists across platforms. People start asking the same question. Who is she? But before anyone can trace the source, the video disappears, wiped from every platform. Accounts that shared it are banned. The few users who managed to save a copy claim that their files became corrupted overnight. Authorities deny any knowledge of the incident, but a leaked log entry from JFK's database mentions something chilling. Unrecognized nationality, system error code 404. That single phrase turns a 30-second video into an international mystery. Was it a hoax, a prank, or proof of something far stranger? Because if the woman was real, and her passport authentic, then we might have witnessed the first evidence of a place that shouldn't exist. At first, the officers believed it was just another forgery. They'd seen it all before: fake stamps, counterfeit seals, digital forgeries printed on cheap paper. But this was different. The document felt real. Its paper had the same fiber texture as official passports. Its holograms responded perfectly to ultraviolet light. And the watermark, a golden emblem resembling a winged compass, matched no known nation on Earth. The woman sat quietly across from the agents, hands folded, posture relaxed. When asked her purpose of travel, she replied, "Business. I work for a maritime transport company based in Torenza. It's my third visit to the United States." Her tone was composed, confident even. No hint of fear, no trace of deceit. The supervisor entered the interrogation room with a folder of world maps. He placed one on the table and said, "Can you point to your country?" She took a pen, hesitated for a moment, and marked a small spot in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, between Spain and Morocco. "Right here," she said softly. "This is our western coast." The officer frowned. "There's nothing there, only open water." She met his gaze and answered, "Then your map must be incomplete." From that moment, the tone of the investigation changed. The Department of Homeland Security sent word to Washington. Databases were cross-checked, consulates were contacted. No record, no code, no flag. Yet the stamps inside the passport were all valid. Entries and exits from Spain, Japan and Brazil. Dates aligned, signatures matched. Every mark was identical to those in official logs from the respective airports. But none of those countries had ever issued a visa to someone from Torenza. One analyst whispered to another, "This can't be faked, at least not like this." Meanwhile, the woman remained unnervingly calm. She asked for water, thanked them politely, and waited. When pressed about her accent, she smiled faintly. "It's complicated," she said. "Our language borrows from many others. We've always been between worlds." Hours later, technicians tried to scan the document into the system. Each attempt ended the same way: file unreadable, checksum mismatch. The printer refused to copy it. The database refused to store it, and somewhere between the physical and the digital, reality began to blur. By nightfall, the airport's main server reported its first blackout in over a decade. When the system came back online, the passport's record, the image, the fingerprints, the file was gone. Deleted, overwritten, or perhaps erased by something no one understood. By midnight, the woman from Torenza had become a problem no one wanted to handle. The airport's security chief ordered her transfer to a nearby hotel under temporary observation until higher authorities could decide what to do. She didn't resist. She simply nodded, picked up her small suitcase, and followed the guards down the fluorescent corridor like someone who already knew how the night would end. Her belongings were ordinary: formal clothes, a toothbrush, and one photograph. It showed a coastal city bathed in sunset light, bridges of white stone, banners with an unknown emblem fluttering in the wind. On the back, a handwritten word: Torenza, 2017. At 10:46 p.m., she entered her assigned room. Cameras were installed at the door and inside. The feed was transmitted directly to a secure server. Everything seemed under control. Until the morning. At 6:15 a.m., the officer on duty unlocked the door. The room was empty. No suitcase, no clothes, no passport. The bed was perfectly made, as if no one had ever been there. When they checked the security footage, every recording between 10:52 p.m. and 11:00 p.m. had been corrupted. Exactly 7 minutes and 23 seconds of static. The camera never came back online. Panic spread through the hallways. Search teams combed every exit route. No witnesses, no alarms, no sign of forced entry. The hotel's elevators showed no movement during that window of time. It was as if she had evaporated. Hours later, technicians tried to recover the footage. They extracted the corrupted file and opened its metadata, and found something impossible. The timestamp wasn't missing. It had been replaced. Date modified, October 10th, 2025, 04:23 a.m. Location tag, unknown coordinate range. Those coordinates didn't exist on any map. When entered into satellite tracking software, they returned a blank area, a patch of ocean between Spain and Morocco, the same point she had circled on the map. By noon, the incident had reached federal channels. All references to the woman were flagged and encrypted under restricted access. Files disappeared from shared servers. By mistake, witnesses signed confidentiality agreements, and the only physical evidence left, the photograph of the coastal city, vanished from the evidence room. Within 24 hours, it was as if she had never existed. But the mystery was only beginning. Because somewhere, someone had leaked the first image of her passport to the internet, and nothing spreads faster than the unknown. By the time the first photo hit the internet, the mystery had already outgrown the airport. A grainy image of the passport, blue cover, golden letters, appeared on Reddit, then spread to X, Telegram, and TikTok. Within hours, the world had a new obsession. People typed Torenza into Google Maps. Nothing. Then they zoomed in, searching every corner of the Mediterranean. Still nothing. And that was enough to start a wildfire. Forums exploded with theories. Some said the woman was part of a secret experiment, a temporal traveler, or a government fabrication. Others believed she had slipped from a parallel dimension into ours, caught between timelines. But the most viral theory came from a post titled, "Torenza exists, but not in this reality." The thread claimed that old maritime maps once showed a small island state near the Strait of Gibraltar, erased from later records. Doctored images appeared, or maybe they weren't doctored. Some showed faint coastlines labeled Torenza in faded ink. Historians couldn't confirm their authenticity, but the resemblance was undeniable. Meanwhile, governments remained silent. No statements, no clarifications, only denial. Yet something strange began to happen across social media. Posts mentioning Torenza started disappearing. Videos were flagged as misinformation. Entire accounts vanished overnight. The more the story was deleted, the more people wanted to believe it. By the second week, the hashtag Torenza had been viewed over 200 million times. Digital artists recreated the city from memory: white stone bridges, narrow alleys, banners with a golden emblem. Someone even released a track called The Lost Anthem of Torenza. It hit 1 million plays in a day. But buried deep within all the noise, a few users began noticing something more sinister. Their saved copies of the passport photo were changing, slightly. Colors fading, details shifting, text rearranging, as if the image itself was rewriting its own memory. A cybersecurity researcher named Nomad Archivist claimed to have extracted metadata from one of the earliest versions. At the bottom of the code, he found a single Latin phrase, ex umbra mundi, from the shadow of the world. The next day, his account was deleted, all his posts gone, and every mirror of his findings led to a blank page. The internet had created its first digital ghost, a story too contagious to contain, too mysterious to die. And just like that, Torenza ceased to be a curiosity. It became a movement, an idea that refused to disappear, even when the evidence did. As the world argued over the reality of Torenza, historians began to notice something unsettling. The story wasn't new. It had happened before. In 1954, at Tokyo's Haneda Airport, Japanese officials recorded the arrival of a man carrying a passport from a nation called Taured. He claimed to have traveled from Europe. His documents were flawless: official stamps, bank references, travel history, everything checked out, everything except the country itself. When asked to point it out on a map, the man grew irritated. "There," he said, indicating the border between France and Spain. "But that's Andorra," replied the officer. The traveller frowned. "What do you mean? That's my country." He was placed under observation overnight in a guarded hotel room. By morning, he was gone. The window was locked from the inside. The passport and all his belongings had vanished. For decades, the man from Taured was dismissed as an urban legend, a piece of post-war folklore. But in 2025, when the Woman from Torenza appeared, the parallels were impossible to ignore. Two travelers, two passports, two nations that do not exist, and two disappearances under identical circumstances. Soon, digital detectives began comparing both cases. The stamps on the Taured passport matched real airports, with small discrepancies, just like those in Torenza's. Some even claimed the emblems were stylistic evolutions of the same design. It was as if one was a reflection of the other, 70 years apart. Could these be isolated events, or signs of a recurring phenomenon? Quantum theorists entered the discussion. Physicist Alexandru Petrescu proposed that certain regions of the Earth might act as temporal convergence nodes, points where the fabric of space-time folds onto itself, allowing fragments of alternate realities to slip through for moments before collapsing again. Petrescu's idea was mocked by his peers, until satellite images of the Mediterranean showed recurring interference patterns near the exact coordinates the woman had marked on the map. A pulse, a flicker, repeating every 7 years. Historians found another layer: Medieval manuscripts from northern Italy described a coastal city called Torenza, destroyed by a massive sea wave in the 11th century, a harbour of lost travellers. Its symbol? A golden flame within a compass. The same motif embossed on the mysterious passport. Was Torenza a ghost of history, bleeding back into the modern world? Or had it never left, merely hidden in the folds of time, waiting to be remembered? As investigators dug deeper, they began to realize something even more disturbing. Every mention of the name Torenza in archived records, books, maps, databases had been edited in recent decades, not erased, but replaced, altered. Someone, or something, had been rewriting history from within the system itself. The deeper researchers looked into the Torenza phenomenon, the stranger it became. What had started as a simple passport anomaly had grown into a labyrinth that seemed to stretch across time, memory, and even the boundaries of consciousness. Digital archaeologists scanning historical archives discovered that older references to Torenza were being rewritten, not deleted, but modified line by line, as if an invisible hand were updating the past to match the present. When experts traced the origin of these edits, the data pointed not to a person, but to an automated system, a cluster of government servers connected through encrypted satellite networks. The files bore a single classification tag, Project Umbra. According to leaked documents, Umbra was an intelligence initiative designed to monitor and suppress memetic anomalies, ideas so contagious they could alter mass perception. Torenza had been labeled one of them. Type B anomaly, false event, generating measurable change in collective belief. But if it was false, why did the evidence keep growing? Why did new photographs, coordinates, and witness accounts appear every time the story was erased? Independent researcher, nomad archivist, the same one who found the Latin code Ex Umbra Mundi, claimed the phenomenon wasn't about censorship at all. He believed the internet itself had developed a kind of memory, a subconscious. Every time a story went viral and was later deleted, fragments remained scattered through servers, backups, caches, pieces that refused to die. Over time, he argued, these fragments could assemble into something alive, a digital echo, self-sustaining, self-propagating. In his final post before disappearing, Nomad wrote, "The network no longer reflects reality, it reproduces it, and sometimes it creates its own." That idea changed everything, because what if Torenza wasn't a physical nation at all, but the first digital country born from collective imagination? A territory without land, without borders, existing entirely within data and human belief. Theorists began calling it the homunculus effect, when fiction becomes so emotionally powerful, so widely shared, that reality starts conforming to it. The internet, they said, had learned to dream, and Torenza was its first dream made manifest. But among the chaos, there was one final discovery. A hidden archive buried deep in a European server cluster contained a single corrupted video file, allegedly the original recording from JFK Airport. When decrypted, the footage showed the woman from Torenza stepping forward, holding out her passport. But before the image glitched, she whispered something almost inaudible. "The world is not a place. It's a frequency." Then the screen turned to static. Moments later, the file deleted itself. No one could recover it. No one could prove it ever existed. But from that moment on, thousands of people around the world began receiving emails containing the same sentence, translated into different languages, always followed by a coordinate that pointed to nowhere. And as the line between the real and the digital blurred, one haunting question remained. Had we discovered Torenza, or had Torenza discovered us? By the time the frenzy faded, Torenza had become more than a mystery. It had become a mirror, a reflection of what humanity had turned into in the age of infinite information. No government ever confirmed the incident. No scientific institution published an explanation. And yet, the world remembered. Not through data or documents, but through belief. In the months that followed, strange coincidences multiplied. An ancient sea chart resurfaced with a faint outline labeled Torenza. An old photograph revealed a flag no historian could identify. And people from different continents began dreaming of the same place, a white coastal city with a blue flame burning atop its central tower. None of them had met. None could explain how they shared the same vision. Anthropologists called it trans-dimensional memory. Others called it mass hallucination. But for many, it was proof that the human mind could reach beyond what maps could show. Because maybe Torenza was never meant to be found on Earth. Maybe it existed somewhere deeper, in the collective subconscious of a species desperate to believe there's still something left unexplained. As philosophers later wrote, the story of Torenza revealed a simple truth, that in a world where every mystery can be solved, the greatest danger is losing the ability to wonder. Whether it was an error in the simulation, a forgotten civilization, or a dream that became too real, Torenza reminded us of something fundamental, that the border between fact and faith has always been thin, and sometimes crossing it is what makes us human. In the end, all that remained were fragments, a lost passport, an empty hotel room, and a single sentence echoing across time and servers alike. The world is not a place, it's a frequency. Maybe that was the real message, that the places we can no longer see still live inside us, in memory, in myth, in story. And perhaps the true lost country isn't Torenza at all, but our own forgotten sense of mystery. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and are passionate about this type of content, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos and discover more fascinating stories. See you in the next video.